It's time for Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. And now your host, J. Bryan Nugen, estate planning and elder law attorney.
Good morning, and welcome to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. I'm attorney J. Bryan Nugen, founder of Nugen Law, and your host for our program. The purpose of our show is to have weekly, in-depth conversations about matters relevant to folks as they walk down the path of successful aging. Our listeners will learn what it is to age with dignity and how best to protect their money. I've been practicing law for 3 decades. I'm licensed to practice in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida, and actively represent clients in all 4 states. My practice, the attorneys, and our interdisciplinary team of professionals who practice with me concentrate on working with clients in estate planning and elder law and areas related to them, such as protecting money from nursing home stays, securing benefits from programs including Medicaid and the VA, geriatric care coordination, estate and trust administration, guardianships, and planning for those with special needs. Nugen Law sees clients in many stages of life, but commonly we have folks reaching out when they or loved ones are showing signs of needing help. Those signs may include a chronic ailment or progressive decline before, during, or after a hospitalization, an instance of incapacity, caregiver burnout, stress on family members due to some or all of those instances I just mentioned. As a reminder, Nugen Law represents clients in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida, and we take a life care planning approach to client representation, meaning that not only do our attorneys prepare any legal instruments appropriate for your unique situation, without additional cost, our clients have access to our affiliated CPA firm for preparation of their tax returns, are invited to our client-only educational opportunities, have access to our Medicare specialist who advises on what Medicare plan and supplemental plan to secure, the ability to have your legal documents revised as necessary and when appropriate, unlimited access to our elder care coordinator, a person who assists with whatever help our clients may need as they age, including setting tours of various facilities, arranging for help in client homes, arranging moving and downsizing, and advocating for Nugen Law clients when necessary. If you hear something in today's broadcast which resonates with you, an area in which we may be able to help, please call Nugen Law at 260-925-3738, speak with one of our intake specialists, and schedule a meeting for either our Fort Wayne or Auburn locations. You're also encouraged to see us online at www.nugenlaw.com. Today, I have a member of the Nugen Law interdisciplinary team, CPA Melissa Mclaughlin, in studio with me. She and I own Tax Care, LLC, an affiliate of Nugen Law. Melissa has been a licensed CPA for 40 years. Prior to joining me with Tax Care, Melissa owned a very successful CPA firm for 25 years. I was one of her clients. In addition, we shared several clients. It just made sense for us to join forces. Melissa, welcome to the show. I've been anxious to have you on, especially as we're getting into tax season. Now, because you're a CPA, you have to provide a disclaimer just like we do at the start of this show. So, Melissa, what's your disclaimer?
Well, I'm very glad to be here today, Bryan, and the disclaimer is that through my years of experience and research of tax laws, I do have a general sense of knowledge, but that's only applied best if it's applied to an individual tax situation. So while I may suggest things or mention tax laws in general, before anyone in our audience would rely on that tax information, they need to consult with their tax preparer.
Sure. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. So, Melissa, what drew you originally to the field of accounting?
Actually, I had started out in medical technology, and I was working at what was then an airway store. And I was manager of the jewelry department. And I became...
Is that right?
Yes, very much so. And so I changed my course of college study because the manager at that point involved us in situations understanding about the gross profit of what we sold, worrying about shrinkage. And I thought, oh, this is so neat to be able to to measure performance,
Sure.
and then to be able to use the numbers to result in a better situation for the folks involved in the store. And I've applied that then from a jewelry counter to businesses at large, and then of course bring it back to the individual owner and make sure they're successful, however they define that to be.
Excellent. So 40 years ago, who knew that from where you began, where you would be now, and how successful you've become in the accounting world? So that's an interesting base. That's a great story. Melissa, as I said when I was introducing you, you're a CPA, a certified public accountant. So please explain to our listeners what it takes to become a CPA and how that differs from someone who may be a non-CPA tax preparer. What's the distinction?
Well, the distinction has to do with the education involved. So currently you need 4+ years of college study, and then you must also sit for the CPA exam, which looks radically different than when I sat for it in Timonium, Maryland at the state fairgrounds. So I will say the situation has changed, but basically you're required to have a background of college-level courses, and then also there's an experience requirement, and then you must pass the test, which states that you know this volume of knowledge and are able to apply it.
All right. Are there tests that are involved and several days of tests? And
Yes. So it has been 40 years, okay? Yeah. But at that point in time, it was 2.5 days of testing. And today's tests are given online, is my understanding.
Okay.
There are different areas, so like general accounting principles, tax principles. You also have to take an ethics exam, okay? And ongoing then. So once you sit for the exam and are awarded your CPA certificate, CPAs must have 40 hours of continuing education in each and every year. So that too is structured so that you keep current with that area of the accounting profession that you practice in.
So what's your experience with tax preparation yourself?
Well, in my practice, I worked with closely held businesses and their owners, okay?
So what's a closely held business?
Yes, a closely held business is not one that is traded on the New York Stock Exchange. So it's owned by, in my experience, owned by 5 or fewer individuals. They could have gross revenue of $5,000, $5 million, and up. The common denominator was that it was a non-public business and held by, in my experience, 5 or fewer owners.
Sure. And how does that contrast with your tax history with preparing returns for individuals or family members?
Really, the bulk of my practice was for folks that were business owners or had another situation with their tax return. So they were like they had rental properties or maybe just a lot of investments, but it was a more complex tax return. And so those folks with businesses, you of course tried to minimize legally, according to tax law, minimize their tax impact every year. And then that also was how I would handle the folks with the more complex tax situation.
And then before joining forces with Nugen Law and now since you are with Nugen Law, has your focus of your practice also included individual tax returns?
Oh yes. And lots of times, and one of the things that drew me to Nugen Law is that ability to help the individual. Once all is said and done, and you maximize that gross profit for a business and handle all of that, most of those businesses, because they were closely owned, that business directly impacted their tax situation.
Sure.
And so it really always came down to the individual level. And that was the challenge, to be able to work with those folks.
So every week when opening the show, I talk about the Nugen Law interdisciplinary team, of which you're a large part, Melissa. So please explain to our listeners what services Nugen Law clients may receive from your tax team without additional cost.
Okay. Without additional cost, we can provide, so you need to be sure to talk with the attorney as you're working with them. At no additional cost, you can receive a prepared tax return by myself and my group of tax preparers. Also, as you're working with Nugen Law, it can be a year of change, perhaps for you, or the year before, the year after. And so we like to work together to understand what tax impacts are generated by the law decisions and the law actions. And if you have us all in one office, there can be a sharing of information that is so much better. I've worked well with attorneys across the telephone in other years, but you're on the scene. You can be called into a conference at a moment's notice, and what I particularly enjoy is working side by side with the attorney to assure a client, yes, it will impact your taxes or not, or yes, it will impact, and here's what we're going to do. It allows me to do better tax planning.
Nice.
For an individual client, and also then to prepare the resulting tax return as they're working with the law company.
And we're putting out several hundred personal tax returns each year and growing.
Yes, that would be the challenge, but we enjoy it. I enjoy this change.
Excellent. I appreciate it. So when clients are working with you for their personal tax return at Nugen Law to be prepared, what should they expect? What does that process look like for them, for you working with them?
Well, we first reach out to the client and we say, okay, to best prepare us to take on this year's tax return, we need to see the prior 2 years' tax returns.
Sure.
And once we have that in hand, then we also give them one of our organizers, which is meant to accumulate general information and activity for the tax year involved. And then, our organizer is infamous for the list of questions at the very end of the organizer. But I will tell you, those questions are so important to allow us to understand everything that might have gone on for that individual during the year and address those situations accordingly.
Well, and to your earlier point, if there's an opportunity for tax reduction, right, by answering those questions,
correct,
what happened during the course of the past 12 months, you're actually helping yourself and helping tax care, Melissa, you and your tax preparation team. You're allowing them to take advantage of any of those opportunities that may exist.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure. Let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say that somebody has been working with you in year one, right? That was included as part of their initial representation agreement. Are they able to renew their agreement with Nugen Law and work with you year after year?
Yes. Okay. And that repetitive giving of services really allows us to know the client and be able to project what might be going on in their life the next year and years after.
Sure. I have seen that once folks are working with a particular CPA, working with a particular attorney, they're really very loyal.
Right.
And like the comfort. And frankly, I don't think people want to share their financials with somebody new on an ongoing basis. They like the idea of the confidentiality that we maintain for them, and they know that they're getting provided an excellent service from you and your team. Ideally, Melissa, when do you start working with your clients? So here we are in October, right?
Right.
And people are thinking, April 15th. But when is it ideally that you're starting to work with your clients and developing that relationship?
That's a very good question because, as you know, the extended due date for all individual returns is October 15th.
Right. So this is people are surprised by this. Tax season really isn't over until October 15th.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
You need to settle up as best you can, dollars-wise, with the IRS by April 15th.
Sure.
But that does allow us time to gather additional information to be sure the return is all-inclusive, but they all must be filed by October 15th for individual returns.
So when is it that you want to start working with your clients?
So if it is a year of change, the sooner we can be working with the client, the better. But on October 17th, 18th, 21st, we are going to be sending our annual Fall is in the Air tax projection letter out, meant to have our clients think about, hey, were there any big changes this year? Have I done everything to maximize my deductions? Am I prepared to close the book on 2023 on 2024 on December 31st? There are a few things you can do after the end of the year to impact your tax situation, but the great majority of those things that you can do are prior to December 31st. If we start talking with our clients now, we can have them in a better position. In most cases, we can have them in a better position for the tax return that's due on April 15th, 2025. And also, they can be gathering information now while it may be more able to be gathered, and then have that already turned into us before we need to prepare their tax return.
So they're avoiding that crush of everyone coming in on March 30th. Inevitably,
Right.
they roll in at the last minute. And
Right.
yeah.
And let's say someone has sold a piece of property that maybe for any reason they would need a valuation on. Well, the time to be getting that is now,
Right.
not on April 1st.
Sure.
So it serves everyone better for us to have that conversation in the last quarter of the year.
So do you use those tax projections and those what was the phrase that you used? The tax documents that go out, or the questionnaires that go out at the end of the year.
The organizer.
The
yeah.
organizer. Do you use those to better know your client, to get to know them on a more personal basis and understand where they are financially?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
As a reminder to our listeners, Nugen Law represents clients in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Florida. Nugen Law takes a life care planning approach to client representation, meaning that not only do our attorneys prepare any legal instruments appropriate for your unique situation, without additional costs, our clients have access to our affiliated CPA firm, Melissa and her team, for preparation of their tax return, are invited to our client-only educational opportunities, have access to our Medicare specialist who advises on what Medicare plan and supplemental plan to secure, the ability to have your legal documents revised as necessary and when appropriate, unlimited access to our elder care coordinator when appropriate. So that's a person who assists with whatever help our clients may need as they age, including setting tours of various facilities, arranging for help in client homes, arranging moving and downsizing, and advocating for Nugen Law clients when necessary. If you hear something in today's broadcast which resonates with you, an area in which we may be able to help, please call Nugen Law at 260-925-3738, speak with one of our intake specialists, and schedule a meeting for either our Fort Wayne or our Auburn locations. You're also encouraged to see us online at www.nugenlaw, that's NUGENLAW.com. Melissa, aside from having their personal tax returns prepared as part of their representation with Nugen Law and Tax Care, and getting into more depth with your tax practice, are there different a la carte matters for which clients may hire the services of Tax Care, like gift tax returns, trust returns, estate returns, tax projections, those types of things?
Yes, there definitely is. And again, this dovetails with the services that are offered by Nugen Law. So whatever planning might be done by Nugen Law, if, for example, there is some gifting involved, well, we can step in and help with the gift tax return. There is an additional charge for that,
Yep.
as you know. But again, the communication aspect and the relationship aspect of all of us there in those related services really serves well to accomplish a gift tax return. Many times when someone passes, there is a need for an estate trust tax return, and we can be of great assistance with that. We have a number of years of experience with providing that. And we did mention the tax projection services as well. So all of those would be additional fees, but forewarned is forearmed. You can make better planning decisions and part of that whole relationship team.
You referenced gift tax returns. People may be surprised to know you don't get to give money away without having a tax. So when are gift tax returns necessary?
Okay. So gift tax returns are necessary when you exceed the annual limit for gift taxes.
And year 2024 is?
$18,000.
Okay.
So, but most folks are, they get this look of alarm in their eyes when
Right.
I mention a gift tax return.
Yes.
Please understand, you can gift away in your life. As of 2024, you can gift away in your lifetime $13.61 million worth of gifts before you will be taxed.
So how often is it that you're seeing a gift tax return when actual tax on the gift is being paid?
Honestly, I have never seen
Right.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's important to do that. Why, Melissa? If I don't have to pay tax, why in the world would I want to do a gift tax return?
Because you need to fix the value of the gift at the date it was given, and also because it's a gift situation, you as a donor, okay, your basis in that gift must also be reported on those returns.
So you made reference to something that is also interesting to folks. If I'm given a gift, if somebody gives me money, I don't pay tax on it. It's the person making the gift. They actually pay the tax. So they're giving the money away, and they have a gift tax if it's beyond the exemptions.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Is there you also mentioned, I'm going to shift topics for a minute. You also mentioned an estate and trust return. When are those used?
When there has been an estate established after someone has passed, okay? And if that estate recognizes more than $600 in income, there is a trust, and so we must file a trust return to measure the income that has come in. But I have to tell you, Brian, in my experience, we're more measuring the expenses that have gone out.
Right.
And the great majority of the estate trust returns I prepare have more deductions than income.
And what happens to those deductions? Are they, if the trust couldn't use them, do the beneficiaries of the trust, does that transfer to them as well?
It does in certain situations, yes.
Sure. So the importance or the relevance of doing that is not only to clean up the trust and close that out, but if there's a deduction that someone could have personally, we're setting them up for that and being able to take that. And I assume people understand what a deduction is, but let's have you define that just to make sure.
Well, for example, you may need to pay taxes for the deceased. The state tax paid could be a deduction. You may have to pay attorney's fees for the trust. That would be a deduction. The last year's income tax return preparation would also be a deduction. Many times, if there is a personal residence involved, we end up with a loss situation. That's rather technical in the explanation. So again, you would want to consult with your own tax preparer as to how that loss might be recorded on the tax return.
So how is the deduction applied, though? It reduces your tax.
It does. It does. It flows
Right.
through from the trust return via a K-1 to the beneficiary that is entitled to those deductions, and it's indicated in one of the boxes on the K-1s and then reported on your individual Form 1040.
We have talked about tax projections, and you indicated that very shortly you're going to be preparing tax projections for clients in the year 2025 for tax year 2024. What's a tax projection, and why should your clients and our listeners consider having this done?
A tax projection takes a look at the year that is ending. So in our case, it's 2024. And you think about, hey, are my income items in 2024 and deductions, are they fairly similar to what they were in 2023? If you've had no life changes, it's possible that there isn't a big difference between 23 and 2024. But if you're seeing a difference for 2024, there's been a death in your family, death of a spouse. You've changed jobs and your income has changed dramatically. Perhaps you're now just starting to take Social Security, draw on Social Security, or draw out of IRAs. All of those things need to be put together for 2024, and we examine where 2025 might be, and then decide, maybe we should bring more income into 2024 and make our best use of the 12% income tax bracket. Or, hey, maybe we should be deferring some income if we can until 2025.
So those projections really allow your clients and you to be proactive for and with them for as much of a tax advantage as is possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When I'm assisting my clients with their estate plans, the question about avoiding tax or not paying tax when they die inevitably comes up. And sometimes with tears in their eyes. My mother worked all her life for this. My father worked all his life for that. I've worked all my life for this. I don't want to pay all that to the government when I pass away. So there are two different types of tax that we normally talk about when someone is passing: state inheritance tax and federal estate tax. So first, is there a state of Indiana inheritance tax currently in effect?
No, Brian, there is not.
Right. That was maybe, 2012 maybe? 2011, 2012, I'm thinking around that time that they got rid of that. So although we have Indiana or Ohio or wherever you're living, state income tax, we do not have state inheritance tax. Now let's go to the more broad federal estate tax. Do we have a federal estate tax currently in place?
Well, yes, we do.
All right. So, but here's the kicker. What is the year 2024 federal estate tax exemption per person?
Per person, it is that same number, that $13.61 million in assets.
All right. So if one of our clients, if one of our listeners passes away with an estate less than $13.61 million, should they anticipate paying any tax at the time of their passing?
No, they should not.
Okay.
They should not.
And it's actually going up even more in the next year, in the year 2025. But in the year 2026, we're not quite sure what's going to happen with that.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct.
They're anticipating it would be right now, if nothing changes with the regulations, between 5 and 7 million, it will go back to between 5 and 7 million per person, which is still significant. But that's in play for the year 2026 to see what happens with it.
Correct.
Although I will say in my career of practicing law in this arena for 30 years, I've never seen it go down. I've seen it go up. Although this time around it may be different. It may go from that 13.6 million to 7 million, et cetera. But I don't see it going back to the days of 600,000, a million. I really don't see it going back.
I do not see that either.
No. So to put the mind of our listeners at ease, although this tax does affect some of our audience, would you agree that this is a minority of people that it affects?
Yes, it is a minority of people that it would impact.
We've just got about a minute left, but looking at year 2024 taxes to be paid in 2025, are there any tax law changes of which people should be aware and perhaps take advantage of before year's end?
Always when someone asks about tax planning, if you're still employed, so if you're still in the workforce, be sure you've taken advantage of all of the fringe benefits that your employer would offer. Have you maxed out your 401k contributions or your simple plan contributions? Are you taking advantage of any cafeteria plans and that type of thing?
Great. Thank you, Melissa. To our listeners, if you care to meet with any of our team members at Nugen Law at either our Auburn or Fort Wayne locations, give us a call, 260-925-3738. Thank you for listening to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law, and to our guest, CPA Melissa Mclaughlin. I will look forward to speaking to you next weekend. Take care.
You've been listening to Preserving Your Dignity and Your Money, Planning for Successful Aging with Nugen Law. For more information, log on to NugenLaw.com or email help@NugenLaw.com. Nothing stated in today's program should be considered as legal advice, should not be considered as having created an attorney-client relationship between show host and guests and any listener. Nugen Law is not liable for anything that happens as a result of a listener relying on provided information as legal advice. The content is for informational purposes only.
Podcasts by Federated Media.